a Yautja that's leaving its mark. Here's your look at the new Hiya Toys, AVP, Alien vs. Predator, Scar Exquisite Mini. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18th scale, featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya Toys. Brand new AVP Exquisite Minis from the folks over at Hiya Toys. Speaking of Hiya, I'd like to thank the folks over at Hiya Toys for providing the sample of Scar that we could have a look at in this review. His accessories we'll look at shortly, but first, let's have a look at the display stand that comes included with him. A bit of a departure, I will say, for the normal Exquisite Mini display stands for Predators. We tend to get ones for Predators that have a muddy terrain. These are actually more closer to the ones we get with Alien figures, and I guess it makes some sense that they decided to go with the floor grading here for the AVP figures instead of the muddy terrain. It would have been nice also if they had given us a stone finish. Of course, they're going to be inside of a pyramid, so it would have been nice to include that. But these are nice. These are nice little display stands. You can see there's the peg right there that's going to attach to the bottom of Scar's foot. And like with other Exquisite Mini display stands, you get these eye brackets. And of course, by now, you already know by now, these eye brackets fit inside these little slots. It's two on either side of the display stand. And then when you have more than one of these, you can attach them together. And when you have more than two, you can attach those together, and you get the idea. So we'll put this to the side, and we'll have a look at the accessories that come included with the figure. And you get a fair bit, too. We'll start first with the combi sticks. He gets two variations of the combi sticks. One is one that's already folded up, and then you get one that's extended outward. The actual handle portions don't seem too different from one another. They have some really nice sculpting for as small as these accessories actually are. The plastic itself is nice and soft, so I don't feel as worrisome necessarily that these are going to be breaking off. But nice little combi sticks. Like I said, up two different varieties. The figure also comes included with a smart disc. And while the smart disc only comes with this version, which is of course the one that has the extended out blades like this, it doesn't come with a smaller version that can be held on the figure itself. This is the only way that you can be able to display it. Now these do fit actually into his hand pretty good. The stock hands that the figures comes included with. As you can see, he already has these gripping hands, so we'll go ahead first and take the smart disc and just fit it in between his fingers. Like with the accessories, the hands that Hiya Toys use for these figures are of a softer plastic, so it actually makes things rather easy when it comes to prying the fingers away from the palm to make the space available to fit the smart disc in there. And of course you can do the exact same thing with the combi stick as well. Let's go with the extended variety. And just pry the fingers just enough away from the palm that you can get the combi stick handle in there. And again, I love the fact that they're using that softer plastic. It is so much easier, believe you me, than having to fight with a harder plastic, especially hands this size. They'd be more susceptible to breaking. Speaking of hands, we can also put the figure down here for 1 second. He also comes with a couple of swappable hands. Now these hands, this one looks actually a little bit more suited for holding the smart disc as if he's going to be throwing it, and then he also has a gestured hand as well. And those can just easily be popped off the ball pegs. The other thing that's interesting about Scar, something you may not notice right away, is he comes with one other accessory. What? A mystery? It's not really a mystery. Well, I guess it could be a mystery. I'm going to put that to the side for the time being. And located on the side is a leg holstered sword, a little blade. I was funny enough surprised to find that the sword was removable, because when I took the figure out of the packaging, it was already attached like this. I just wrote it off and assumed it wasn't something that was removable, but decided to try anyways, and let Lady Luck end up being the case where the sword was removable. So that's nice. A little extra accessory in there that's not really packaged in with the tray. As for the figure itself, by now we certainly have covered off a lot of Predator figure reviews from Hiya Toys on this channel. In the back of my mind, I always kind of had that one franchise, thinking to myself, well, they've already done Predators. They've already done Aliens. What if they actually start tackling the AVP and AVPR property? And of course, that's what we're getting here with Scar. A little more younger of a Yautja. All the Yautjas actually were in AVP, much younger. Going through the trials of going through and battling the Queen and the aliens. And I will say, though, I mean, you know, as it goes for a smaller Exquisite Mini, it's a really nice looking figure. The thing about also AVP Yautjas is that they're known for having bulkier armor with a lot more silver than some of their, well, other predators out there. And you can see there's a lot of nice paint that they've applied to these. One problem I have with this, if you're sort of looking at the proportions as I'm holding it in hand like this, proportionately everything goes together quite nicely, except I feel like the torso. Now, one of the problems that they may have also done is because I can't really quite lift this to show you. Well, there we go, maybe just a little bit. It's a softer plastic armor piece that they put over top of an existing body. The bodies I'm guessing that they probably used are the same ones that they use for the predators, like the Berserker, the Falconer, and the Tracker Predator, which were already known for having big torsos already. By putting over top of the armor piece over top of it, it really makes for a very thick looking predator, especially when you're seeing it right up here. We'll start first with this head sculpt. And a nice silver faceplate here. Brandished, as you can see, branded at the top there with the Scar logo, the little carving that was put in there. And that's nicely done as well. It sort of has a roughness to the actual helmet, which I think works quite well for Scar Predator here. He also has very long hairs. These dreads not only run from the back of the figure, but they also run to the front as well, and it sort of gives him a lot more of a fuller, not mane, but sort of along those same lines. It does have also the little necklace. It's actually more like a bandolier, I guess. A bandolier of little tiny skulls that run across the front of the torso and wrap all the way around, as you can see there. He does have the blades, quite long blades too, and the blades also extend out. So you can push them in, that's as far in as they go, and you can also extend them obviously out as well. They're softer plastic too. And again, I know I sound like a broken record for saying this already, but I'm glad that they're using softer plastic, because that would certainly be something that could break. But you can see there's just a little bit of wiggle on there. Now, for the other gauntlet right here doesn't seem to be one that opens up. Not that I can see, at least. I thought there may have been a flap on there. You can see there's almost what looks to be a hinge joint here, and yet I can't seem to open it up. It looks like it's all molded together, which is fine. I can't expect every single thing on such a small little predator like this to actually be opening, or something that can open, something that can move, and so on and so forth. The figure also includes, of course, the plasma caster shoulder-mounted cannon, which serves as one solid piece. It's not something that, while it looks like it could be detached, I guess you could remove it if you want to. I don't know if I would want to do that, just for the risk that probably would be a real tough time to get that back into place. But the little cannon, the little shoulder-mounted cannon, does have its own articulation. There's a hinge joint right there, and then further up, there's a hinge joint about the midway point. And then this also does rotate back and forth. Again, it's remarkable the amount of detail that they're able to put in such a small little predator. I mean, putting in proper perspective, these figures are sitting around that 4-inch mark. I mean, it makes for a really detailed figure that rivals, I feel, even the 7-inch, 6 to 7-inch predator figures that we get from other companies as well. Closer looking at the details there on his armor. We've already, of course, covered off on the helmet, but let's look at the rest of the features on the figure. Again, I really only feel like my problem is the fact that the torso seems really big. If they had made the torso just slightly smaller, a little more narrow, I feel like you would have a smaller body, and it wouldn't look as chunky when you're looking at the figure itself. It has really interesting skirting, which is also, again, reminding me that it's softer plastic. It's soft plastic, basically, that runs down this pathway here. Softer plastic down below here as well. Really a nice looking figure. Now, not only have they released Scar, but also in an upcoming review, we're going to be looking at Celtic or Celtic, depending on how you'd like to pronounce it, which is my all-time favorite Predator design, at least from a helmet standpoint. So again, I'm super excited to have a look at him as well. Let's now run through the articulation on Scar Predator. His head rotates back and forth. Mind you, it's a little harder to get in there, especially with the plasma caster being in the way of things. The head moves up, the head moves down. And just to quickly show you the side profile, it almost looks as if you would be able to remove the front faceplate, but you can't. It's just molded in there. But they painted at least the outer edge of his head, just the part of his crown, just peeking out from the sides. Again, really nice paintwork on their part. As for the arms hinge out. I can't quite get them at 90 degrees, just a little less than that. But at least the shoulders are soft enough, and they attach them to the torso rather than the top of the shoulders. So at least when it comes to moving their arms, these shoulders aren't going to get in the way of things. The bicep swivels on these figures. You have a double hinge on the elbow right there. And the hands rotate back and forth as well. I guess technically, too, the gauntlet blade could rotate back and forth just by the way it's attached to the forearm. And that works the exact same on this side as well. Hinge, hinge, and hands. Now, the upper torso is on a ball joint. You probably can already see as well when you're rotating this, this is going to start shifting back and forth. And this is attaching this part to this part here. So you just will want to be careful that you don't rip that by mistake. It does have up and down, back and forth, and you can rotate it this way. The same thing applies for the bottom of the waist, or I guess the bottom of the abdomen that connects to the waist. That's also on a ball joint. As for the legs go forward and back and split. And again, the way they've attached the little side armor pieces, softer plastic, but it gives you enough wiggle space. These shift back and forth that when you move in the legs like this, for example, you can see how that sort of goes along with it. There's nothing really holding things up. It does have the double hinge on the knees. It's not until you actually pick the figure up and you start moving his knee. You're like, okay, there's a hinge joint, there's a hinge joint, there's a hinge joint. He has double hinges on his knees. And then, of course, when it comes to his foot articulation, that moves up and down, and you can also rock it back and forth as well. With noted back to the original, looking at the accessories, he does have the peg holes on the undersides of his feet. So yes, you can make use of these display stands and attach the figure to that. A really solid looking figure. Like I said, when Hiya Toys have been covering off different Predator figures and different Alien figures from the different films and the different comic appearances, all in the back of my mind, I kept thinking this whole time, I really hope they can start tackling the AVP and eventually AVP-R, because I would love to see what they could do with a Pred Alien. Now seeing a Scar in hand like that, short of the fact that, yeah, the torso is a little on the chunkster side, I really, really like the way that Scar Predator turned out here. Now that Hiya Toys have opened the floodgate on now an AVP property, I hope that down the road we are going to be getting ourselves an unhelmeted, damaged version of Scar, and even crossing my fingers even further, I hope we're eventually going to be getting ourselves an Exquisite Mini Queen. Now, could you imagine a Queen scaled in the same sizing as Scar here? Of course, obviously a lot bigger than Scar. Imagine putting that on display along with these Exquisite Mini Predators. I gotta admit, I'm pretty excited with the idea of them now doing AVP. And again, I hope down the road, AVP-R. Not a great movie, but the fact it does have Pred Alien in it, who wouldn't want to see an Exquisite Mini of a Pred Alien? Show of hands. You can't see it right now. My hand is quite high. I'm loving the stuff that Hiya Toys have been putting out as of late when it comes to the Predators. Now just covering off the Predators with Falconer, Berserker, and Tracker, which I actually liked those Predators proportionately more than their original Predator line. They were just a lot bigger of a figure. And I'm guessing they probably used like the building blocks, their body frame when it came to Scar here. It results in a much bigger, thicker looking Predator. A little thick in some areas like his torso, but I'm like the fact he's a lot more bigger of a Predator than some of the more lankier Predators that Hiya Toys were first starting to do when they were tackling the Predator franchise. What do you guys think of Scar Predator from AVP, Alien versus Predator? Let me know down below in the comments section. And a big thank you again to the folks over at Hiya for providing this sample of AVP Scar, the Exquisite Mini, that we could have a look at in this review. Hey now, are you new here? Did you straggle in from out of town? If you have and you're enjoying the content you're seeing here on this channel, you can do a couple of new things, new stranger of yours, coming into this chat, of course. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you're turning on the bell notification. Making sure, yes, you're coming back to this channel, because we will be looking at more AVP Exquisite Minis from the folks over at Hiya. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.